All right, everyone. Jeremy Knauff here with another episode of the Public Relations Declassified live stream. And we're bringing on a special guest today. We're going to do a little bit different format today. I'm going to be interviewing my good friend, Ben Fisher, who is an absolute genius when it comes to all things related to Google business profiles. And this is a critical aspect of public relations because for a lot of people, that's the first impression that a journalist has of you, right? Whether you pitch them yourself or a publicist pitches you to them, either way, one of the first things a journalist is going to do if they don't know who you are, and let's be honest, unless you're somebody like, a Bill Gates or an Elon Musk or something like that, most journalists are going to have no idea who you are. So they are going to Google you. And one of the first things they're going to see when they do that is your Google business profile, along with all your reviews and all of the other information that's there. So this is a critical foundational component of all of your public relations efforts, but it also has a huge impact on everything else that you're doing from a marketing perspective, whether you're doing SEO, paid ads, email, whatever. People are going to go and check out your Google business profile. And if you've got it set up correctly, it will also attract organic visitors through Google search. So this is such an important component. And frankly, it's something that most people don't really put much effort into, and it has a huge detrimental impact on them. So what we're going to be talking about today is using your Google business profile for public relations, optimizing it for public relations, right? We want to create the maximum impact from our Google business profile so that we can really turn up the needle when it comes to our public relations efforts, as well as all of your marketing efforts, really. And this is a thing, like I said, most people don't even have the basics right on this. So we're going to go ahead and bring up Ben Fisher. We'll let him tell you a little bit about his background. He's actually on Google's team. So he's got his own business. He manages Google profiles for a ton of people, but he's also one of the people that Google has hired to, kind of help them steer the direction of how Google business profiles work. And also he's one of the guys that goes out and hunts for the people that are doing shady shit with Google business profiles, and helps people to identify, or helps Google to identify and remove those. So super smart guy. He's deeply in the know on all things Google business profile, and he is one of my favorite people. So Ben, thanks for joining us today, brother.
Thanks, Jeremy. See, I need to hire you to actually represent us, because that was actually a really beautiful way of saying everything, I think. One clarification.
Yeah.
I'm hired by Google. They do not pay me. They do not do that.
Okay.
So I'm a volunteer with Google, basically.
And refresh my memory. What was that? I forget the name of that kind of entity over there. It was like the Google product something or other.
Yeah. It's the Google Business Profile Product Expert Program. That's a mouthful, really, is what they call it. We call it the Product Expert Program. But I've been doing that for north of 10 years. There's around 200 of us in the world. And there's only 20 of us with maybe my designation, which is what I'm considered the diamond level, which is basically the highest level you can be inside of their ecosystem. They have to gamify everything, of course, right?
Of course.
Yeah. So,
but I want to add some context on that real quick, man.
Yeah, please.
So, man, we both came up in the SEO industry from like forever ago. And you and I have seen probably hundreds of thousands of people claim to have relationships with Google, right? I know Matt Cutts, or I know John Mueller, I know all these people, I can make things happen. It's all bullshit. If you actually Google Ben's name, you will find his profile listed on the Google business profile kind of informational pages. So he's legit. He is actually listed on Google's website, right? Not some page that he created that shows up in the search results, but actually on Google's official website. So that should give you guys some insight into the depth of knowledge that he has on this topic, and the trust that Google has in him for his expertise.
Yeah, I mean, I talk to him every single day. We meet with him once a week. Guys, we're going to, I'm not sure if I can say where. No, we're going to Mexico, actually, in a couple months to go visit them in their HQ in Mexico City, of all places. I was in London and Dublin the last time. I like those places more. Anyway, But yeah, it's fun. Get to get a lot of insight. I get to learn a lot of things about 6 months to a year before the general public, and get to influence the product at the same time. COVID was probably, I would say, the most interesting time that we've experienced that. Put my finger on quite a few little features that creeped out during that period. But anyway, yeah. So it's interesting to see the insight. It's interesting to talk to Googlers. I've got a webinar I'm doing with a Googler in a couple of weeks with Bird Eye, and we're going to be talking about AI, of course, and SEO and everything like that. And we were sitting there, we were talking in the green room, and I'm like, so just out of curiosity, what about this part of that? I was like, what do you think of that? He's like, well, I can't say anything officially. I was like, duh, dude, I know that. I was like, what do you personally feel about it, though? Which is the way you kind of skirt your NDA. And so anyway, so yeah, so I get to learn things. It was kind of interesting, that one, actually. He's like, oh my God, he's like, I get to hang out with the Ben Fisher. And I'm like, yeah, it's just me, man. So anyway, it's fun. Going to Google offices is fun. Knowing them is fun. Knowing the inside information is better.
I love it, man. I love it. Well, I've got a million things I want to talk about on this topic with you, but let's start with an area that I think, at least from a public relations perspective, also from a broader marketing perspective, that I think has the biggest impact is reviews. So let's start with, what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see people make when it comes to getting reviews on their Google Business Profile?
Getting reviews? I think that today the biggest mistake you can make with getting reviews is constantly trying to pressure your customers to use their names. I'm sorry, to use the names of your employees. So it's been a very common business practice, especially in law, to basically, give a spiff or a commission to your employees, right? Every time somebody mentions your name in a 5-star review. Well, what this led to was, as you can probably think, is the employees, salespeople saying, hey, we did a great job servicing you. If you wouldn't mind mentioning Brandon when you're talking about our HVAC services in your review, that'd be fantastic. And if you could make that a 5-star review while you're at it, that'd be even better. And so what are they going to do? Of course, the consumer is going to feel pressured. They're going to feel like they need to, right? They owe somebody something. And they're going to leave a 5-star review and thank Brandon for his fantastic service. Well, Google has finally gotten tired of this because it has gamed the system. So now they've actually put it into their guidelines. This is not allowed. So what does that mean? That means that there's going to be kind of a refactoring period here where Google's kind of going to allow things to kind of continue to go as they are. And what they're going to do is they're going to analyze all the sentiments. They're going to analyze how many people are still doing this. And then they're going to unleash basically the algorithm, their AI algorithm, on reviews, and we're going to see a torrent of reviews just go missing and gone. We've already seen this year, and we'll see it again.
Do you anticipate that being just simply if the reviews have an employee's name? And how do we differentiate that, right? If it's a frontline employee versus the owner of a company, I feel like a lot of natural reviews kind of are that way to begin with.
Yeah, you don't. So unfortunately, Google does look at things in a very binary way. So they're just going to be looking for the presence of names that don't appear, quote unquote, natural. Unfortunately, what they deem as natural is usually not what is based in reality. So we're going to see thousands upon millions of screaming customers or merchants, I should say, because their reviews are going to go missing. I mean, this is just what's going to happen. So what you can do to prepare yourself really is make sure that if you have employed this tactic in the past, stop. It's that simple. Let the customer do what they're going to do. If they're going to mention Brandon, fine. That's totally fine. As long as you're not telling them, you're doing it the right way. It does not mean that you're going to be spared from something like this happening. But at least you're playing the game the right way, and you have a better chance of basically, quote unquote, surviving it.
Okay. And have they either said something about this, or do you have a hypothesis? Will this be retroactive, or will this be from this point going forward?
Knowing Google, it's a this point going forward type of thing. Okay. However, there is an but to that. In the past, they do it going forward, but then they go backwards and do it retroactively later.
Okay.
It could be years later, by the way. How do I know this? It's in the guidelines.
Okay.
They updated the guidelines like not only a couple weeks ago to include this. They haven't come out forward and told us anything specific like what you've just asked, but based on experience, that's probably what's going to happen.
Okay. And then, so there's another topic related to reviews that you and I have talked about a ton over the years, and that's Google's AI moderation of the reviews, which has been a big source of frustration for a lot of business owners. So
Sure.
what advice do you have? And for anybody who's listening right now and doesn't know what I'm talking about, essentially this is where somebody goes, they post a review and it shows up for them, but it doesn't show up on the profile, doesn't show up for you. Nobody else sees it except them, right?
Right.
So Ben, what are some of the ways that people can avoid that? I know obviously it's all, AI, it's algorithms. But I have to imagine there's some factors that trip those moderation filters. So what would your advice be to somebody to reduce or eliminate this happening for their profiles?
Gosh, there's so many things to talk about here. So the first thing is just preparation, right? Be prepared. Make sure that you are backing up every single email or screenshotting at the very minimum emails of every time that Google says, "Hey, congratulations, you got a new review." Screenshot it, put it away. So that's your existing reviews. Now, when it comes to a customer review, you might get that success email, but the customer is going to be able to see the review that they left in their contributions, right?
Mm-hmm.
They might call you and say, "Hey, I left you a review. Did you see it? Yada, yada," or whatever the case may be. Or just they might say, "I left you a review," and you're like, "Oh, I don't see it." If they can send you that screenshot, there's always a chance of recovery.
Okay.
It's not 100% chance of recovery, but it's pretty good. And actually, I just read an article on LinkedIn about this. Basically, the way it kind of works is, and it's on my YouTube, I think, too. Anyway, but the way it kind of works is that the reviews live inside of the Maps database,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't live in the Google Business Profile, in other words, search database. So what ends up happening is that Google sometimes can't find the information that's in the Maps database. They don't actually, believe it or not, this is the fun part. They don't have a tool that they've programmed to retrieve reviews.
That's absurd.
It's amazing, right? They've been doing this for such a long time. Don't have this tool, which is why when you submit, like if you say get suspended, you get reinstated, you're missing 150 reviews, whatever the case may be, it can take them literally 7 months to find the reviews. It's totally insane that they don't have a tool for this, but they don't. And so it's a manual match. So you have to have as much data as you can to help them make this manual match.
Okay.
So that's, so basically, again, being prepared as much as possible for, hey, I am missing reviews, they're gone type of thing situation, and I need to get them back. That's what you can do. We even built a whole program around this, Jeremy, where people can basically help get their reviews back and all sorts of things, because we back them up in a very, very specific way.
Nice.
Yeah, I haven't seen many companies do this either, but
You're
yeah,
the only one I've ever heard of doing anything like about 80% of the stuff you're doing, by the way.
I've heard that. Thanks. But yeah, it's all about being prepared. That's it.
There was something I did just recently. I had somebody who had posted a review for me and it wasn't showing up, which like, obviously I know that that's a thing. I know that happens. So I wasn't too stressed about it, but I mentioned it to him that he could see it, but I couldn't. He actually went in, reopened the review, and then resubmitted it, and then it showed up.
Yeah,
is that just a fluke, or does that happen pretty often?
No, it's a repush.
Okay,
that's what it is. It's kind of like, for instance, there's a little trick. If you want somebody's review to show up at the top of your review list, and they left it years ago, just ask them to edit it and add like a period or remove something.
Oh, that's brilliant!
And pops straight up as if it was brand new.
I had no idea. That is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
I love it, man.
Even better, have them add a picture. It'll stay up there even longer, or a video.
Okay. Good to go.
But yeah, it's a big problem. So, like I said, when we do like reinstates and such, we'll lose, hundreds upon hundreds of reviews will be gone. And we'll reach out to Google and they'll be like, "Oh, we can't find them." And that's literally, it's kind of like a shrug. It's like, "Yeah, sorry, We can't find them. There's no data found is what they call it. And it's like, no, it's like, it's there. We know it's there.
Yeah.
I had a scenario even with our own profile. It's like we do a differential check every single day on our Google profiles
Okay.
to see if you're losing reviews just automatically for our customers. And so we used ourselves as a test case for this program. And it's like we saw over 60, 70 reviews were gone over the last couple years. And it's like, I know these people, I know their real reviews, just like my customers say, I know these people are my customers, yada, 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 right? Same stuff. And went and through the same process everybody else has to through support. And they said,
Mhm.
no, we can't find these reviews. Sorry. I'm just like, no, you're right. You are sorry. Because I had to escalate it to my team. And when I escalate to my team, the support team gets dinged. Actually, they have gamification points for support, of course. And so they were sorry. I got my reviews back. I got fired, but I got my reviews back.
I love it. Hey, it's a zero-sum game, baby.
Hey, do your job.
So this is something I do for myself as well as, how I advise my clients when they're asking for reviews. I do tell people, like, don't just write the review for yourself and give it to your client to post, because that's going to look, it's going to look off. It's going to sound overly promotional, and there's going to be a pattern to it. But what I do is I give them some bullet points, right? Like, talk about, how we simplified the process for you, or talk about the impact that the outcome had for you, things like that. So we give them some frameworks, and then they're going to write them using their own words, however makes sense to them, with their own unique context. But when it comes to writing the reviews, are there any specific things that people should look out for as far as things to say, things not to say, things that might trip up the algorithmic filters or anything like that?
So number one, it's wonderful that you want to give them guidance, but I would stop that.
Yeah.
Because more than likely you're going to fall into a habit of giving everybody the same kind of guidance because you're a busy guy, right?
Fair.
So, which means that every single review is going to start to look the same. It's bad for consumers. It's bad for anybody who's coming to look at the profile, because now it looks like you're trying to game the system. And these are probably not very genuine reviews. And the algorithm's going to pick up on that as well. Eventually, you will get caught. That's
okay.
It's just going to happen eventually, one day. So, like what I do with my reviews is I just send people a link and I just say, hey, tell people about your experience, period, end of story. And then when I'm responding to that review, what I'll do is I will respond in a way that echoes the sentiment and what the reviewer has stated. So if the reviewer says, I worked with Steady Demand to do a reinstatement of our profile, they got it back for me in 3 days. You guys have saved my business. Thank you so much. 10 out of 10. Right? Great.
Mm-hmm.
I will echo that and be like, I'm so glad that we could help reinstate your Google business profile in a couple of days. Happy to have helped. Looking forward to helping you in the future. Blah, blah, blah. Something like that. And the reason you want to do that is basically a reinforcement. You're reinforcing what they stated. It's kind of like how with AI optimization, you want to be able to reinforce a certain type of narrative, or you want to reinforce a certain type of thing about yourself in multiple areas, and that corroborates data for Google. And that's what it's all about. It's all about corroborating the data in multiple sources, authoritative sources. And in this case, you're talking about cooperating within a review.
Right. I like that. So that then kind of dovetails into this question, which will segue into a deeper side of it shortly. But do the reviews have any kind of influence on Google's Gemini?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Story.
All right. Good to go.
Yeah, your GPP actually is influencing Gemini in multiple ways. The way I like to talk about it is that Google's kind of looking at your Google business profile as a kind of almost like a general ledger of information, of trusted information, quote unquote. It knows your name, your address, your telephone number. It knows the services that you have. It understands the sentiment that customers might have about you. It understands your tone, your languages, your services. It's connected to your website, your social media profiles, which ingests all of that data as well, right?
Mm,
So, I mean, because you think about it, LLMs is nothing but computers crunching information. That's
right.
all, and predicting its output. so, so given all of that knowledge, basically, yes, your GPP becomes an extremely important facet. Your reviews are being pulled into results. Your services are being pulled into results. Your name, your address, your telephone number, your hours open, all of this, again, being pulled into LLM results. So your GPP now becomes something, if it wasn't important before, it becomes even more important in the age of AI results.
Got it. Well, then that will segue us into a topic that I know you've been very passionate about for a long time,
Yeah.
and that's AI. Now, I know you've been using AI in a lot of ways from the management side and what you guys are doing with the profiles, but there's also other facets to how AI and Google Business Profiles kind of interact. And that is one of the big ones that I find most concerning from a PR perspective, but really these apply across the board, is Google rewriting descriptions and information using AI, which I think they started that, I don't know, a few weeks, maybe a couple months ago.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what your thoughts are. Take this wherever you want, wherever you think is applicable, but what are your thoughts on Google Business Profiles where AI is part of the picture?
Well, again, we come back to the ledger, right? A trusted ledger.
Mhm.
So I would look at it as more like a good starting point. Let's just put it that way.
Okay.
And like when we engage our clients with AI optimization, we start with something called a reputation cleanse. And the reason why I call it that is because we are going to take a snapshot, of course, of the GBP and all of that kind of data, right? Because that's kind of our ledger. And then we start
Now,
taking,
when you say snapshot, you're not talking about a screenshot. You're talking about extracting that data and putting it in some kind of database of some sort.
yeah, extracting every metadata piece that we can grab our hands on. Yes. And then what we do is we start taking a look at AI results for the reputation of the entity itself. So we might be looking at, like, for instance, Spartan Media Review or Spartan Media Reviews as a query, right? As a beginning query, I should say. And
Mhm.
then we'll do pros, and then we'll do cons. And these are all different types of queries we're doing. From that, we're going to get a good pattern of information of
Mhm.
people, because everybody's going to have cons. I don't care who you are. You're not going to be perfect, right?
Sure.
So, but what those cons are and how those mean to the algorithm and the entity extraction itself, that's a different story. Because you can take this, and all this, what it's going to do is it's basically going to branch off into the LLM, kind of like a spider web. And so you need to make sure that you are controlling this narrative, because otherwise misinformation can grow very, very quickly. And so anyway, so getting back again to the beginning, GBP, then we look at a reputation cleanse, and then you start fixing these things within the reputation, whether that be third-party sources, internal sources, sometimes going back to your GBP and having to fix something there,
Okay.
website, etc. That's a lot. Sorry.
No. It's good. It's good. Let me throw this at you. What are some of the unexpected areas where Google may be pulling from, right? Obviously, they're pulling from your reviews and all that, but
Mhm.
where else are they getting data that they're applying to what they then use in your GBP?
Wait, so you said in your GBP?
Yeah, like you said, they're analyzing it. They're kind of getting your whole reputation score, so to speak. They're getting sentiment from other people. They're pulling information from wherever else they find it, through the whole umbrella of entities that they know about.
Right.
What are some of the other places? Like, are they looking at other review sites? Like, I know
Oh, yeah.
that typically, like, Facebook reviews do show up in your Google listing, your Google business listing. What are some of the other places that Google is going to look for information about an entity that we might not have considered?
Well, I don't know, you might have considered, but Yelp is a big one, right? For some reason, Google trusts Yelp.
Mhm.
Uh, and then there's, of course, Glassdoor for a company. They're going to look at how employees kind of have sentiment around the brand. And then from there, it's going to be, as many authoritative websites as possible. Now, that being said, when you're doing hyperlocal searches and you're trying to find information, it's going to corroborate information at the local level. So local citations all of a sudden become very important at this as well.
Now, when you say citations, for people who don't have a background in the SEO industry, explain that to the layman.
Sure. A citation could be my name is Ben Fisher, and I think Public Relations Declassified, which you can find at this website address, is an amazing show. Okay, well, me just mentioning Public Relations Declassified and tying that to your website is, in a sense, a verbal citation, right? So now I take that and put that to the web. Anything that can corroborate some of the information, name, phone number, address, website, whatever the case may be, can be considered either what's called a structured citation or an unstructured citation. Unstructured citations, say, would not link to your website or your anything at all. It would just, again, be words on a piece of paper, on a web page, right? A structured citation has some more of that information, name, address, telephone number, and also, say, a link to your website or something like that. So that's kind of the difference between the two. One could be linked, one could be not been linked. But at the end of the day, it's a listing or it's a web page on some website about an entity.
Okay, perfect. So it would definitely be wise to try to get as much citation possible in as many places as possible for all businesses, essentially. Yeah.
You can never have too much, but then again, on the same coin, sometimes you can have too much if you can't control that information. This is why, making citation services have become so important. They kind of fell out of grace with SEO for a long time, and now they're kind of back.
Are you talking about things like Bird Eye or Yext and things like that? Exactly.
Okay. Again, controlling your brand narrative, right? So you need to control your base information first, your name, address, telephone number, etc. You need to control that first. So citation services are extremely important. It's like we include it, for instance, with all of our services because it's that important. And so yes, but then it's tracking down all those other mentions. And a good example of this is when AI gets things wrong. For instance, I had a situation where a Reddit thread was mentioning a scammy competitor or an app, right? Named kind of similarly to a client. And somebody came in, mentioned my client, and said, no, don't trust these guys, trust these guys instead, my client. AI conflated the two and thought that it was calling my client the scammy company.
Ouch.
Right? On doing research, I was like, no, oh crap, no. I had to go in and train AI to understand that, no, it was not talking about my client. It was talking about this other thing. It took about 6 months to fix. And finally, AI clarified itself in the results. But if you don't look for this information, you just don't know. You don't know it exists. So you can basically, in a sense, be called a scammy company and not even know it.
Yeah. Are you using any specific tools for this, or are you just kind of going and searching the web and asking the LLMs various questions to get this information?
We use the standard tools I guess everybody's kind of using at this point. None of them are good, by the way. They all kind of equally suck.
Okay.
So, because at the end of the day, when you're doing a search on an LLM, excuse me, when you're doing a search on an LLM, the data changes. If you do 1,000 queries of this, 1,000 times query of the same query, you're going to get 800 different results sometimes.
Okay.
So you can only use it as a baseline. It's kind of like actually ranking these days. Ranking at all times is pretty much just a baseline of the moment. So anyway, that's a hard way of saying we do a mixture of tools and manual searching.
Gotcha. Okay, good to go. All right, so then let's throw in some of the elements of a Google business profile that most people don't use. And admittedly, I'm not using some of these even on my own profile, but it's something that we've done for a bunch of clients in the past. Kind of a classic case of the cobbler's kid, right? Last one to get the shoes. But things like Q&A, things like posts on Google Business, products, services, elements like that, what role do they play nowadays as it pertains to the profile in general, but then more importantly, as it pertains to AI?
So basically, number one, Q&A, you can ignore it. It's going away. It's being
Okay.
deprecated. You can't even manage it anymore, so don't even worry about it. You
Okay.
know, it's being replaced by like people ask basically in maps or ask maps. So yeah, just ignore it. Posts, pay attention to posts. They're not going to help you with AI at all. However, they can always help with conversion. So, and Google's always working on this as far as a different type of a tool, basically for you to use or a feature. So, yeah, I would definitely use it. Services actually help you with ranking. They don't help you with AI. Okay. Sometimes AI will pull in what's in your services, but it's more going to rely on your reviews and again, cooperated data. That's probably the biggest thing that it's going to look at.
Okay.
So,
And what have we not talked about that you think people should know about when it pertains to these Google Business Profiles?
we've covered pretty much most of it actually at this point. GBP in itself is not a very complex beast. You know, it may look like it from the outside, but it's not. I mean, it's a very simple thing. It's not a set it and forget it kind of thing either. But
Right.
it is the kind of thing that you kind of want to put on, you know, at least a monthly schedule to check in and take a look and see if there's any kind of new features. Make sure you're just touching all of the things. But again, going back to that basic concept, and you know, the basic concept of being a general ledger of your business, your entity, that I think is the most important thing. And kind of going back to what you were saying in the beginning, Jeremy, and that is that you know, if say you're going after trying to get some PR coverage, right? People are going
Mhm.
to look at your LinkedIn, and they're going to look at your Google Business Profile. And if you do like most people do, which is you don't answer reviews, or at least you don't answer the negative reviews or whatever, somebody who's on the other end of that who understands public relations is going to look at that and it's going to make them question, well, why am I interviewing this person or this company? You
Yeah.
know, it says they're great over here, but over here it kind of says they suck. you
Yeah,
know,
and they don't have a rebuttal for it. So yeah, it's definitely a red flag.
exactly. So I'd say touch all the things, make sure you're responding under your reviews. You know, again, if you can look at it like it's your business card or your general ledger or whatever you want to, that's the best way to look at it. And that's going to make you understand exactly how important it is to the Google ecosystem.
I love it, man. Well, you have shared a ton of awesome insight that I think is going to benefit a lot of people. I'll have Chrissy go in and grab that link that you were talking about earlier to the article you did on LinkedIn.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
We'll drop that in the Facebook group for anyone who wants to check that out. And if you've got anything else you've written, whether it's on social or SEJ, Search Engine Land, any of those places that you think would be useful for people, just get us the links to those, and we'll go ahead and drop those in the group as well.
Absolutely.
For the rest of the world who doesn't have your phone number can just pick it up and call you anytime. How can people who want to hire you for your services, how can they get a hold of you?
Best way to get a hold of me by far is going to be going to steadydemand.com. Just STEADY demand.com. That is the best way to get in touch with me any day of the week.
Awesome. And we'll drop that link in there as well. Like I said, you know, at the beginning of the show, I've known Ben for years. Solid guy. He really knows what he's talking about, and he's one of the most ethical people that you'll ever meet. So if you are in need of help with your Google Business Profile, he is the man to go to. He's the guy I've always gone to, even back when I was in the SEO industry.
I remember those calls, Jeremy.
What's that?
I remember those calls. What the is Google doing?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So like I said, he's the guy that I always go to when I have a question about this. And that's saying something because I'm pretty damn knowledgeable about this as well. So Ben, thanks for joining us today, brother. You have shared a wealth of information that's going to benefit a lot of people. We'll drop those links in there.
Cool.
And for anyone watching either live or later on, you're catching the video on YouTube or Facebook, wherever else it is. I would encourage you guys to reach out to him and at the bare minimum, give him a follow on social. He's constantly sharing great advice. He writes for several publications. You're going to learn a lot by following this guy, even if you don't end up working with him. But if you do find yourself in a situation where you need help with this, he is the only person that I ever recommend for anything related to Google Business Profiles.
Oh, thanks a lot, Jeremy. I appreciate
My
it.
pleasure, man. Ben, it's been great having you, and we'll have you on again sometime soon.
Sounds good, brother. All right.
All right. Take care, brother. Bye. All right, everyone. So that was a ton of information that you guys should start implementing immediately. Ben gave a ton of great advice that will help you in so many different ways, both from creating a stronger first impression, attracting more customers through organic, the whole 9 yards. So this is something that every business owner needs to be leaning heavily into. It's not going away, so you might as well make the most of it. And that will segue us into Jeremy's PR PSA for the day. And that is third-party validation, like your Google Business Profile, gives journalists a clear impression of exactly what people think about your brand. Now, this is important because, like I said, when you pitch a journalist or a publicist pitches a journalist for you, the first thing that journalist is going to do is they're going to go look you up online. And they're most likely going to see that Google Business Profile over there on the right side of your screen. And your reviews are going to be front and center, right? It's got that number and it's got the bright yellow stars right at the top of your profile. So that's going to tell them a lot about you. And if you've got a ton of raving clients talking about how amazing you are and describing the problems that you've solved for them and the impact that it's created, that tells the journalist that you are somebody who knows what you're talking about. And that exponentially increases your chances of getting featured in the media, right? They want to know that anyone they're citing is a legitimate expert, someone who's going to bring real value to their audience. So this is something you cannot ignore. It has such a huge impact for you. So take the advice that Ben shared today, implement it. And if you find that you need some help with it, maybe you don't have time or you don't have the technical ability, reach out to Ben. Solid guy, and he can definitely take care of you guys. All right, everyone, that's a wrap for today. I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. And if you're not already subscribed to us on YouTube, look for that subscribe button and hit that. All right, thanks, guys, and we will see you next week.